I'm Kevin Craven.
I'm Brandon Alexander, and this is Vibeable,
where we invite you to tune in and catch a vibe. And you are off speaker.
I'm off speaker. And hello. Is this Kevin?
You know, I think it's still me. That's these days. That's actually that is a logical question these days.
You know, sometimes we gotta check in with, are we still there? Because sometimes who knows? Maybe one day the answer might be no. But I think as of today, the answer is, I think we're here. We're here. You, Kev, are there.
I'm mostly here.
Myself,
Yeah,
Brandon is here.
I'm mostly here.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly
right.
is a good. Yeah, that's a good amount, I feel.
That's a win. That's a win at the end of the day.
Right? Yeah. Let's go with the win. Yeah. And for our listeners, let me just say this really quickly, because the reason I'm not all the way here, there's just been a lot going on. And without saying too much, I've just been dealing with this person that I have, I signed on to do some work for this person. And first of all, it was completely out of, it was under, the pay was under what I should have been paid, but I agreed to it, right? So that's on me. But, when you're not really paying someone a ton of money to do a job, then you can't be making all these demands. Like, you just can't do it. You just gotta accept that you are a low budget bitch. And listen, it's no shade to low budget bitches. Like, we're all low budget bitches at times, right? It's nothing
but
wrong.
There's varying degrees of that. I mean, you can hold that title, but be a good person. You can be a decent human.
Yes,
and hold
you
that
could
title.
be. You
and
could
then you could also be dirt scum and hold that title.
Exactly. You
right?
can be a kind low budget bitch, or you could be a bitch low budget bitch. And so it's just been, I've just been dealing with that, but I am good. I'm good. I'm thankful to be here.
Good. I'm thankful that we are here together. And you know what? As annoying as those instances are, I mean, learning moment and move on, and it's all good. It's all gravy.
Exactly. Get over that hump, and just kind of just get through it. On a lighter note, I would love to hear about this reading that you got. What was it, a couple days ago?
Oh boy, right. Yeah, it was a couple days ago. Maybe Saturday? Yeah, it was on Saturday. And it was my first reading with this individual. And not that I have a self-interest in tarot, but I seem to gravitate towards people who are. So it's I've had readings done before, but the first one with this person, and it was a very clear message of the current artistic endeavor succeeding in a big way.
Okay.
If there was a caveat, it was that there was no time frame as to when this would happen. But I feel like that's very much directed at what we're doing here. So feeling good about that.
Good. I like that a lot, because I literally just watched a video on Instagram about a guy saying that, going to the gym one day, you're not going to see results, but, maybe you won't see results on like the 5th or even like a week after going to the gym. But eventually, going back to that time, you don't know when you'll see results, but you will see results. And he said you don't even have to go to the gym for 9 hours a day. You can go to the gym for 20 minutes a day, every day, and you'll get results. It's just about that consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. Consistency is key in most things.
Yes. I
It's the best
totally
way to
agree.
avoid inconsistency, right? It's like
Yeah, is to be
the
consistent. I
natural
mean,
cure.
you've been consistent with Chipotle.
Oh, wait, quick update. I hate talking about Chipotle this much. However, they forgot my chips the other night, and I, through the Grubhub app, without really much check or balance, I was just able to name the items that they forgot, which was 2 orders of chips, and they just refunded my money, like in the app.
Look, you see how that works?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of money.
See, I listen eventually.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money that you should be refunded, but this is a great start. This is a great start. And how about this? How about this to that specific Chipotle location? Why don't we just
How about
find
this?
why don't we just find out why every time my boy is ordering food from y'all establishment, something is missing. What is going on with this Chipotle? What is
Right?
happening?
It's like, is everything okay? Like, is everyone all right? Like, we're just worried at this point.
Literally every time you order from this Chipotle, something is missing. What is happening?
Something is.
Oh my god.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, let the conspiracy theories, continue. You thought that they just had it out for me, that just my very name coming up.
Yeah.
Which we've neither have neither confirmed nor denied that is the case.
Yes, we don't know with this specific Chipotle location, but at least you got a refund. At least you got a refund finally.
I did justice, some justice.
Justice. That's such a good segue into this topic. Last week I was going to a friend's place and this kid, he's not a kid, he's like 21 or something. He got he got hit by a car. He was on his bike and the car hit him. And the guy, this fucking asshole, gets out of the car and he's like, you didn't see me coming. And the guy was like, the kid on the bike was like, well, didn't you see me? And he's like, you saw me. The driver's just going off. The driver's this older guy and just you saw me. And I'm standing there looking because to me, it was the driver's fault. And the driver is just going off on this kid. And I'm standing there because the kid looks banged up. You could see some blood starting to spew. And I just kind of felt for the kid and the guy, just a fucking asshole. He walks after he's finished arguing with the kid. He kind of walks a little closer to him and he's like, "You good, playboy?" And I'm like, that was his way of asking, "Are you okay?" And that's not the motherfucking way to ask if somebody is okay after you just hit them with your car.
Yo, okay, so
no justice.
I mean, no justice. Yeah, hashtag no justice. So I feel like if I'm in a car and I hit someone on a bike, a pedestrian, who's at fault goes out the window, right? Isn't your concern with the human that could possibly have been hurt?
Right.
Does it matter by who that can maybe use your help?
Right.
I don't understand why people go in attack mode.
Yeah. I don't understand either, but once the guy pulled off, I did ask the kid if he was okay. He said he was good. And then he asked me, he said, "Do you think that was my fault?" I said, "Absolutely not. That was his fault." Yeah.
Poor guy.
I know. So we need some justice for this kid. Come on. Drivers, be careful out in these streets and keep an eye out for pedestrians and bikers. I know they're not always the most considerate of drivers, which, it should go both ways, but, definitely,
should.
They have a lot less protection than you do in a car.
Yeah, 2 wrongs don't make a right, especially if it's into a pedestrian. That's what my mom always said.
Did she say that?
Every night before bed.
What?
Good night, sweetie. And remember,
what?
2 wrongs don't make a right.
See, she was on to something.
All those years ago, she was onto it.
Listen, and it's still accurate to this day. So shout out.
She's quite the lady. Hey, Mom. Love you.
Oh man. So I also just want to quickly shout out Megan Thee Stallion because her album came out last week and I absolutely love
Oh,
it. She's doing her thing. She's killing. She's doing what she does, and I think she's very talented. And I just wanted to put that out there that I really enjoy her album. She went hard. She went really hard, and she addressed some things, and she also opened up a little bit. I feel, which I appreciate. So yeah.
to give the people who've not heard the album yet a quick synopsis, how would you describe it in, I don't know, 10 words or less?
Wow, 10 words or less. Okay, so the name of the album is called Traumazine, and she gets into man, you can tell that she was addressing certain issues with
Okay.
people of her past, both instances the public is aware of and instances the public isn't aware of. And that's the thing with hip hop, with rappers, is that that's usually how they beef. It's through their music. It's not like
Right.
all this back and forth, or it's not like fist fighting. It's usually through music. That's how like MCs would do it back in the day. They would like do diss tracks and stuff, and this whole album wasn't a diss track, but there you could tell there were a couple tracks on here that she put her foot on some people's necks. But also it was just like there's a song on there called Anxiety where she just talks about her anxiety. I know you never would have guessed, right? But it's not that's not a route she usually takes, where we learn more about her or she's like vulnerable. She's usually pretty hard. She's usually pretty hardcore or just like really sexy. So I really appreciate her for doing a track like Anxiety. I would say overall the project is just, I mean, in my opinion, it's a no skip, and
Ooh,
I just
okay.
really
All right.
appreciate. I really, really appreciate that. There are a couple collaborations that I'm not crazy about, but it's not the song itself. It's just the people. So, but I won't get into that. I think it's a great album.
Well, great albums, great new albums are always fun and exciting to get to explore. I'm excited to check that out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, man. And what is also exciting, in my opinion, is checking out something new that you never checked out, you never got into it, but you give it a try. And that's what happened with me and with our project. And
Oh, right.
yeah,
I know about this project. We've talked about this.
we did talk about
Yeah.
this project, and for the listeners, you'll see the title. It's How to Get Away with Sopranos. Now, Brandon for years has raved. I mean, not just Brandon, but like most of America, right? Have raved about Sopranos and how it's this iconic show. And I've never doubted it. I just never got into it. And also, I've just never been the type to jump into something just because the rest of America is doing it. I've always been like, if it looks appealing to me, I'll watch it. And sometimes it does take me a little longer, and then I watch and I was right. And then sometimes I wait and then I watch and I was wrong. So Brandon and I swapped our favorite TV shows, mine being How to Get Away with Murder and his being
The lovely
Sopranos.
Viola Davis.
Yes.
With the incredible and late James Gandolfini.
Yes, right. Oh my God. Amazing, amazing. And we would always talk about our experiences watching this show. We both rewatched each show several times. I mean, we've never watched the opposing show, but he's rewatched Sopranos. I've rewatched How to Get Away with Murder several times, and it's just like comforting, right? Would you say that it's comforting to rewatch it?
It's more than comforting. So I'll make a quick addendum that I rewatch The Sopranos once a year, the entire series, one time a year at least. And there was a time at the beginning where I was watching the entire series several times within a year. So I've seen it quite a lot. And so it's enjoyable to rewatch, but it's also like I feel like I'm in class, I'm in school, learning camera work that I've missed or acting moments that I didn't, or even seeing extras that were in season one that are a pivotal role later on in the series. All sorts of wonderful, wonderful things like that.
Yeah, I love that because I haven't rewatched How to Get Away with Murder several times a year, but I rewatch it at least once a year, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
really is like you said. It's a lesson, and you already know what's going to happen. So at this point, you're just observing everything else, the extras,
Yes,
the
yeah.
acting, the camera angles, and even just observing more of the storyline and the writing.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, there's plenty of moments where either you forgot or you just didn't, like, there's so many bits of foreshadowing now that you know the story so well that you'll start to
Yes.
pick up on, like, holy shit, they knew that was going to happen by this little itty bitty suggestion in episode 3 that
Yes.
happens at the end of, I don't know,
Yes,
1 or 2
right.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all just so nicely planned out. And sometimes, the writing isn't always planned out. Sometimes I feel like the writers are just trying to come up with something for the next season, because they've been renewed or, often it's already written. But sometimes I feel like with TV shows, the writers they fall off because it's just ongoing and you can't wait a season.
Yeah.
You can't take a break. You got to keep going.
Right.
But I think overall, How to Get Away with Murder has really they really just did a great job. And again, every season wasn't as amazing. Well, to me, every season was amazing. There's one season that fell off a little bit for me, but it was still fucking amazing. And we're not gonna play.
Right. So okay, so to go back a second and touch on the writing of The Sopranos. So to me, it's a true trajectory of just an upward slope as far as the episodes and the seasons just continuing to get better and not dropping off. And part of that is that the writing process was, I mean, there's many parts to that, but if we're talking about writing, David Chase he'd have written the major moments that would have to happen within a given season. So David Chase is the creator, and he directed and wrote probably the majority, more episodes than anyone else, because he directed the majority of the first season, and then traditionally would direct that at least the first episode of a season and the last, or this kind of thing, or I've written the first and the last episodes. Anyway, so David Chase would give the broad strokes of a season, and then the other writers would fill in, and then for every episode that had a writer that wasn't David Chase, they would write the first draft, David Chase would edit, then they would rewrite the second draft, David Chase would edit. So it was like the creator of the Sopranos as an entity was heavily rooted in the writing process. So there's like a continuity throughout the series that I don't think is demonstrated in other TV shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that really helps. To have someone kind of go back and edit everything and overlook everything and make necessary adjustments. And I'm sure it's that way with all writing in television, right? But there isn't continuity in all of writing and television.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
And I feel like that is what makes shows like Sopranos and How to Get Away with Murder stand out, is that continuity. You really need it. It's so important.
So you, going into this episode of The Sopranos, what was your knowledge about the show? Is it just kind of what anyone else would say? It's a mob show that was on HBO that was real popular.
Yeah, that was literally it. It was just Italian mob. I knew the actor, the lead actor, Tony Soprano, and that was it. Like, I didn't know about the storyline. I didn't know about any of it.
Okay. Well, let's feel our way into the episode. So, let's see. Any expectations going into it? Did you get, like, what was your setting at home? How did you feel about the opening credits? How did you feel about first impressions? Let's go about the first 5 minutes. I want to get a gist.
My setting at home and the opening credits. I wow. Yeah, you definitely have a different perspective than I do when watching anything, watching or listening
And
to things.
that's why we're here, bud. That's why we're here.
Yeah, so I was at home. I was just at home in my room watching, and I thought the opening credits were cool. I thought, yeah. I like low key, like I kind of forget, but I remember it was just like showing a lot of the city.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and I did not know what to expect at all. I was a little excited, and as the episode progressed, I became more excited because
Whoa.
obviously I didn't know about these characters. I didn't know what was going on, and just getting to learn about these characters was just really, and learning that it's not like just this full serious mob show, that there are funny moments like when the uncle fell down the
Yeah.
stairs and then the
Oh,
reporter
yeah,
is like talking, and then she like looks to count how many stairs there were that he fell down to report that it was 7 stairs.
6, no 7 stairs.
She had to make sure, she couldn't just say he fell down some stairs. She wanted to give you numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you go into the episode. I realize that Tony, he's pretty loud. He's pretty loud. They threatened to sue the Justice Department when
right.
speaking to the doctor, and the doctor quickly confirms, "Oh no, he's fine, he's fine," and that was another like comedic moment. The CAT scan was clean, and he's like, "Oh." He just did all that like, oh, we'll sue you or whatever. But and then Ralph, what a character Ralph is.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
yeah. That's a lot to unwrap in one episode. Like we've had anyone who's watching the series has had like a season and a half with this guy, almost 2 seasons.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay.
So
All right.
he hasn't been there since season 1.
No.
Okay. Yeah, so Ralph calls Peter's mother.
He calls I think his actual name is Peter, but they call him Paulie.
Paulie.
Or maybe it's Paulie. Yeah, Paul, but who you're talking about is Paulie. Yes, the guy with the silver stripes.
Yeah, and he's just fucking around saying your son's sucking dick and all this stuff. Jesus. Got this woman all worried, talking about what kind of health insurance she got. I mean, it was just... I'm like, Ralph.
Can't forget about the gerbil.
Yeah, oh my God, the gerbil. I'm like, Ralph, leave this lady alone. Why are you messing with this lady? Then we get into the uncle mentioning the court case that he's milking. And Tony calls, I believe his name is Mel.
Yeah,
and yes, and mentions a possible mistrial. In hopes of leading the jury to believe that the uncle has dementia or something along those lines.
Right, due to the fall down the steps. Yeah.
Yes. The fall. Oh man. So so far at this point, I'm intrigued. I'm like, okay. And I'm learning that Tony is a con man. You're trying to get this mistrial, and you're trying to blame it on the stairs, and you're trying to sue the doctor, and he's a bit of a con man. I'm learning. Sorry. So then we get to Justin, Ralph's son, who is shot with an arrow, which is just crazy. That was crazy. Yeah. Ralph's ex-wife. Ralph and his ex-wife, they don't have a good relationship, we learn. They take Justin to the hospital, and Ralph is just no good. Ralph is all over the place, just a mess, crying and ready to fight people, and Tony having to calm down. We're also at the hospital with Tony, Mel, and Tony's uncle, and they're coaching him on how to get this mistrial done. And there's this fall down the stairs. Let's say that he hit his head and this is what gave him dementia. This can help with the mistrial. I don't know. I think it's I like the writing at this point. Like up to this point, I was like, I'm digging it. I'm digging it. And
Okay,
it
right.
wasn't like a task at this point. At this point, I was invested. So we have Rosalind, who is Ralph's ex-wife. She visits the hospital, and we know, or I knew because you told me.
Ralph's ex girlfriend.
Oh, that's his
Oh
ex-girlfriend.
wait. The wife who's with the surgeon initially, or the one who comes into the hospital room.
Oh no, you're right. It's his ex-girlfriend. Yeah, we didn't get to his ex-wife yet.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so yeah, that's his ex-girlfriend. She comes to the hospital, and this is another. I mean, this moment isn't comedic, but the moment following. So she's at the hospital with Ralph. She's talking about Justin's health, and Ralph is saying his health is declining, and Rosalind assures Ralph that Justin will be fine. And then immediately, the following scene, she's talking to Tony's wife, and she's like, "He's gonna be a vegetable." I'm like, "Damn, girl, like shit."
So
And that at
it's
least
worth
Ralph has a
commenting-
daughter. Terrible.
No. That she has a daughter. He doesn't.
okay.
That was his only son.
Oh, wow,
'Cause her
okay.
her
His
son
only
had
child.
passed away. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's the conversation with Ralph and the priest, and the priest is assuring Ralph that it's nothing that he did that caused this to happen to Justin. He says that God doesn't punish people, and yeah, I'm not gonna speak too much on that topic. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just leave that there. But I'm gonna just speak on the fact that Ralph said he mentioned that he hasn't been to church in a long time, and sometimes people. Or I would say that a lot of churches or religions can, I'm not saying they do, people. I'm saying they can make you feel like if you're not attending service every single Sunday, that God is, God's hand is off of you and all this stuff. And again, again, I'm not religious anymore, but it did just kind of like spark some familiarity with me, if I said that right, if I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
So,
Did you get the feeling that having just this is your first exposure to the Soprano verse, we'll call it. Did you get a sense of that's if the show had a particular stance on how they were depicting religion? Was it like a commentary? Was it meant to be satire, or kind of pointing out the some of the unpopular aspects of religion in the church?
well, it's not unpopular at all. I mean, I would say that's actually very popular, that conversation that Ralph had with the priest. And yeah, I would say it's quite accurate. Yeah, so okay, then we have Tony. I meet his son. I meet his son at breakfast with his son and his wife, and
yeah.
I saw like a little more of Tony in this scene because he's like they're
Yeah.
talking about college a little bit, and then he starts kind of picking on his son, and he's like beating him up a little bit, playing with him, being rough with him, but then he's also kissing him. And I thought that was like, an affectionate moment between him and his son. So again, just finding more layers to Tony, which was cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I get a glimpse of Tony's business. And Ralph is handing Tony an envelope of money, saying that he had to smack a guy up for it.
Right.
And okay, I'm not gonna jump ahead here. Okay, so then we get a glimpse of Tony not fucking around. Once Ralph leaves the office and these three guys come in, and one of them is talking shit about Ralph and saying that he'll fuck Ralph's shit up. and then Tony checked his ass. Tony checked his motherfucking ass. He said, "Look,
That was Paulie. Yeah.
Paulie, okay.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, he checked his ass and he let him know like, look, you're not gonna fuck with him. Okay. So we get back to the uncle.
Okay.
The uncle is getting, I believe, what is a psych evaluation of sorts, to assist him with his mistrial he's working on, and just so good, putting in the work, like, and it takes that, and that happens a lot in How to Get Away with Murder, where they're aiming for a mistrial,
Yeah.
and so you got to do the preparation.
And then they even have like the comedic aside of Janice and Bobby just giving like cheesy thumbs up and
Yes, yeah, that was his
you're doing
Tony's
great.
sister,
Like
right?
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was really cheesy, but I enjoyed it. We then cut to Tony, who is in again another layer of Tony. Tony is in bed with a hooker, and she just butt ass naked, and I'm like, damn, Tony, get down like that. Okay, Tony. So and listen, I don't condone it, but it was something new for me. Something new I learned about Tony. Tony is fucking around on his wife.
He is. And the who you saw him with was used to be with Ralph.
Okay, yes. He then gets the call and he goes to, I guess, the ranch that this was. And he finds out that Pi, the horse, died. Right? Okay. And Tony. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so I thought it was nice. I thought it was sweet to see that Tony was sad about Pi. And he suspected some things, but went down here. Okay, he suspected some things. There was some foul play here going on with the death of this horse. So
Yes.
what I got from it is that Tony realizes that it was Ralph who killed the horse for some cash, and what I believe is that envelope that he gave him. And okay, I'm gonna just keep going.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I had not. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I had never considered that. What you said about the envelope. Yeah. Please keep going.
I think this is, I mean, if I watch it again, I'm sure I'll learn some more. But that's
Okay.
my take. It could be wrong, but So we're back at Ralph's house. Tony arrives at Ralph's house, and something tells me that Tony at this point already knew that Ralph killed the horse. Now he goes in and they're talking and they're chatting, and Ralph is still upset about Justin, and he's like making some fucking eggs. So, and listen, Ralph egg game, we're not gonna play his egg game, his scrambled egg game. We're not going to play. Okay, he put sour cream.
That half and half for the cream. That's right.
He put the half and half, and then he said his secret ingredient that makes them taste so good is the sour cream. We're not gonna play.
Oh, the sour
Ralph,
cream. Right.
What's a sour cream? It could have been sour cream, or it could have been ricotta or something. But listen, Ralph knew how to make the scrambled eggs. I'll give him that.
He did.
So they are having a conversation. They're talking, and fuck, I did not write this down, but it gets heated. It gets really heated, and Tony kind of catches him, and fuck, I forget how it led to it, but Tony attacks Ralph pretty much, and he just punches him. And then Ralph, is like flipping out, and he insults Tony and his weight, and then he swings the eggs in the pan at Tony, and then Tony tries to stab. No. Ralph tries to stab Tony, which I'm like, this shit is getting real. You trying to stab? I'm like, this is like more than a fight. This is getting real.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, Ralph, are you sure you would have stabbed this man? So Ralph then sprays Tony with Raid.
Oof. Yes. Gets him real good.
Raid. But Tony's skills just got the best of Ralph, and Tony beat that ass. He beat that motherfucking ass, and he just beat the shit out of Ralph over and over and over. And next thing you know, the last thing I was expecting is Tony killed Ralph. And I was just like, I was not I was like, oh, y'all doing this. This is what y'all doing on this show. Like, Ralph took him out. I just, and like,
Yeah.
I could have misread this, but was this all not over the horse pie?
So in yeah. In the end, yes. There's something else I'll reveal about Ralph once we've concluded your experience of the episode. But you could say most certainly that this was the straw that broke the camel's back. This was 100% because the horse died.
Okay. So, one second. So Tony attacks Ralph. No, wait, I'm sorry. We'll have to cut this out. So,
No.
okay. Ralph is dead. No, let's cut that out. So, okay. Ralph is gone. Ralph is dead on his own kitchen floor. Tony calls Christopher,
Yes.
who I guess is his friend or something, or someone who works. Well, I know he works for him.
So Christopher is Tony's nephew. Like that's his closest.
Oh, that's his nephew.
Family
Okay.
in this thing. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, so he calls Christopher.
Christopher is in his apartment, I guess, sniffing coke, child.
Yeah.
Sniffing coke. Tony says, go to a payphone and call me. So he could basically instruct him on the cleaning supplies that he needs to help clean up Ralph's body. They take Ralph to the bathtub. Okay. Christopher arrives with the stuff. He seems a little surprised that it's Ralph who's dead. He recognizes Ralph, and Tony instructs him to, begin draining the blood. And he also recognizes that Christopher is high, and he calls him an addict or something along those lines. And
Yes.
they start working on cleaning up this mess. They take the body to the bathtub. Christopher freaks out because he realizes that Ralph has a wig on.
This whole time.
The whole time. Christopher didn't know, but apparently Tony knew it was a wig.
Apparently Tony knew. That's right. Yeah, he was pretty sure about it.
He
Of course I do.
was like, yeah, he knew that shit was fake. So Tony mentioned he was sorry about the horse to Christopher. Well, they go to this location. I jumped ahead of myself a little bit. They wait, hold on. Tony mentioned he was sorry about the horse to Christopher. Oh, okay. Sorry. I know where I was going. So Tony, it seems like he covered up for Ralph. Like he didn't put the blame on Ralph about the horse, right?
No. He never, I believe, well, what he says outwardly is certainly different than what he says inwardly. The scene with him and Ralph tells us exactly how Tony feels, and it's that because you killed this animal, I need to take revenge. That's how much he loved that horse. But what he tells he doesn't lead that on or divulge that to Christopher.
Right.
Right. His story is that he was like that when he got here, and then
yes,
there's this tit for tat of Christopher being a little more honest about Tony with what he was doing. He's like, yeah, it was H that someone gave me because they couldn't pay me money, whatever.
Yes.
And then Tony's like, well, about Ralph, he was still alive when I got here. Right. They both kind of add these half truths or these half lies to their stories.
Yes. Tony, pretty much lied to cover his ass. And they go to a location after chopping up all of Ralph's body, or the pieces that have contained DNA, the head, the hands, and everything, and they get rid of it. They go to this location, this secluded house, and they bury everything in the backyard. And then they toss the body. They toss the body into the water, and then they cut to the uncle, who goes to the neighbor's house and asks for ice cream.
Yeah.
And at this point,
Right.
I'm wondering, so does he actually have a mental issue, or does he know that he's being watched? So
Yes.
I don't know.
That's a good question to ask. Yep.
Yeah. So maybe he's like committed, and he's like, well, I know they're watching me, so I'm gonna ride this out.
Could
Then
very well be.
yeah, then his helper, his assistant, comes and helps him and goes back to his house. Then we get back to Tony and Christopher, where Christopher is saying, he's like kind of questioning why Ralph was killed, and Tony is like, or I think Christopher alludes to, Tony, are you concerned that someone will find out, or something along those lines? And then Tony says, well,
Yeah, yeah.
you're the only one who knows.
Mm-hmm.
And then they fall asleep, or at least Tony falls asleep, and Tony wakes up, and Christopher is nowhere to be found. So I feel like that was a great cliffhanger. I feel like that, I feel like it was great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so a couple of things I'll touch on just for the ending, which you arrived at so beautifully. I'm excited to hear what popped out to you when you were watching the episode, and you were catching some really, really lovely aspects to the show. So that makes me happy. So
Okay.
for the ending, that scene where Christopher brings up some people might be upset at Ralphie going, and then Tony pointing out that they're the only two that know about this in the first place. But that is it's further evidence that Christopher, he knows that Tony did it, but they're that close, and I guess he's respecting the the guys that Tony's wanting to put up as far as like not admitting to having done it. But Christopher still poses a question, and then he poses the political part of what his captains or what the other guys might do.
Okay.
So anyway, there's like that happens a lot where they're very careful. They have an instinct to say what they mean to say without saying the words, so that if you were being recorded, it couldn't be traced back. You know what I mean? They kind of talk in that kind of code.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Makes sense.
And then the very ending, right, where Tony's walking through the strip club, which is empty, and he's yelling Christopher's name, and then the camera is behind Tony as he's like walking toward the exit, and then he pushes the door open, and the whitest light ever floods the screen. All the loud noise of Jersey traffic floods the speakers, and then cuts to this friggin' jam of an outro. When the credits hit, the music that plays is that, I don't know, that whole moment. It's probably the best ending to a TV show freaking ever, maybe, to the end of an episode. I mean, yeah,
because of the music and because of the light.
The music, the light, the way they are right behind Gandolfini as he walks, just like the pace that he's walking. They even do it's distinctly two different cuts, but the way that it's edited together, it's meant to capture the same moment of him walking toward the door, and they like match his footstep speed exact, and then the Foley artist really like pops out his footsteps as he approaches the door. And like it just, because like out of nowhere you have this however long, like a minute and a half, 2 minutes of silence when he wakes up the next morning. Christopher's not there. He walks around. Oh, side note, he takes a look in front of he takes a look at himself in the mirror, and he sees a picture there. That girl that they had zoomed in on slightly is a stripper that Ralph in another episode ends up beating to death.
Oh God.
And so this is what Tony is thinking about. So the whole episode has happened, and why he killed Ralph, in the moment, it was because of the death of the horse, but he also recalls what else Ralph has done. And that's like, so Ralph is historically, if you've seen him from when he enters the show, he's like a spitfire, and he can be ruthless and just awful. So it's
wow.
But within the same episode, right, for people who know that about Ralph, who know that he beat this girl to death, you're still empathizing with him when his kid gets shot with an arrow. Like that's the beauty and the complexity of the characters on the show.
Yeah. The writers have a way of making you empathize with even the biggest assholes in these shows.
Cool.
I enjoyed it.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, that was a good episode that you chose.
Thank you. I had given a lot of thought. We both had picked other episodes initially, and then thought about it. Like it may have been our favorites for other reasons, but
Yes.
yeah, I'm glad I made that change. Cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes. Now, let's get into the
Yes.
episode I chose for How to Get Away with Murder, which,
Yes.
okay, so you chose season 4, episode 9 of The Sopranos, and I chose season 2, episode 9 of How to Get Away with Murder.
Also correct.
Yes.
Now, okay.
Oh.
So this also comes with far more. So the backstory is a big part of your episode, whereas that Sopranos episode could stand alone for the most part.
Yes.
So it was interesting to see how, because you filled me in on a couple of the blanks, but then it was interesting to see like that style of drama. So drama that airs on ABC, NBC, CBS. There's it's not formulaic, but they kind of borrow like West Wing and CIS. These were shows that kind of had a very quick pace to them, and How to Get Away with Murder certainly has that, and it's kind of extended. Like I noticed that they had the music that would be just in the background of the show was kind of a track that was like maybe 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes long, and it just played kind of as one through track through like big chunks of the episode. So I'm wondering, so there's like the camera work that happens when Annalise is having that moment in her office and the camera's kind of circling around her. Is that how the camera work is throughout the series? Is it sometimes more simplified, or does it kind of play into the dramatic moments?
From what I can recall, that was the only time that type of, and again, I'm not as into like the camera work as you are, but that one stood out to me, and I can't recall another moment in the series where it was something like that. I thought that was amazing, just going around her like that. I don't recall any other moments like that, but there could be some, but I just don't. I'm sure they would have stuck out to me.
Okay, cool. Now, so first thing, why is it a big deal that Catherine's painting is in the background of Philip's video?
So, because Philip is a suspect. He's a major suspect in this case. And to have her painting there could imply that they have had some sort of exchange. Or it definitely implies that.
Okay, and now had either of them implied that they hadn't had an exchange or that they didn't know each other?
Well, for Catherine to have interacted with Philip, it would be a shock to everyone because he's the suspect and she would be lying pretty much because she didn't offer that information.
Got it. Okay. So then toward the beginning of the episode, you have Nate, who is this an ex of Annalise?
So he is the mister. While her husband was alive, she was fucking Nate.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I got that lover vibe.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so that explains what she does. That kind of explains her entire motive for what she does at the end of the episode. Okay, this makes sense.
Yes.
Cool. But so we find him being questioned by Sinclair, who is
Emily
the
Sinclair,
female agent. Yeah. Okay.
She's defending not the Hapstalls. The Hapstalls, the parents who were killed, Catherine and Caleb's parents. She is trying to prove that they killed them. So she's going in court. She's going face to face with Annalise, pretty much.
Got it. Okay.
Sorry, my legal terminology is not the best, even though it should be better. It's better than what it was, but clearly still not the best.
Thanks to How to Get Away with Murder. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fine. So long as we're learning, right?
Yeah.
That's all that matters. Okay, cool. So, and this puts Nate's job in jeopardy because was he recently suspended, or he's on like thin ice for whatever reason at work?
Yeah, Nate is on thin ice. Nate has been he got this job because Annalise blackmailed someone to give him the job. And he's been involved with a lot. He was arrested because Annalise framed him for her husband's death. And so he has a lot of eyes on him right now.
Okay, so why did Catherine take it upon herself to go to the motel that she was at? Because she's in the beginning of the episode, and then did the team decide that it was best for her to go there? Did she do that? Did she do that on her own accord? Because Annalise says that she like ran away.
So Catherine went to the hotel because she was upset.
Okay.
Yeah, she was upset, and she communicated with Philip that she would be meeting there, but she also fled once she learned of all the shit that was taking place, the gun and everything.
And so this is around the time that Annalise's bearded assistant, Frank, they're already kind of setting into motion how they're going to use Catherine as like a pawn.
Yeah, to kind of frame her. Yeah.
Yeah, because that is framing her as the lesser. Like, we need to protect Nate. He's higher up in the pecking order, and so that's why she wants to protect Nate. But then she also feels like she can get Catherine off, even though she is framing Catherine. Is this
Yes.
Just where Annalise is coming from?
Yeah,
okay.
That's really good. And she wasn't just protecting Nate, but also herself and the students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one little thing about Asher's. So Asher, we're in his house, or he's with his mom, and his mom kind of blames him for his dad's death. Does she think that he initiated the blackmail toward his dad?
So she thinks Annalise did, and that's why she blames him for working with what she said, that woman or something, Annalise. Right. She knows that Annalise played a part in Asher's father committing suicide.
Well, so how much truth is there in what mom says? So
it's true, but Annalise did it to protect someone else, to protect some people. So she dug up everything she could on Mr. Millstone, or Judge Millstone, Asher's father, and she got him, what do you call it? Disbarred, I believe. Yes, he was disbarred because of her.
Okay. The character that we see the flashback at the end of the episode, when he's a kid and Annalise is overseeing him on the other side of the glass.
Are you asking who the kid is?
It's Christoph?
Yes, Wes. Wes is a kid, but he went by Christoph at the time. That was his name, his birth name.
Cool. Okay, so not knowing anything else about the show, is that last scene suggesting that Annalise killed his mom, or that she's possibly his mother? Like, it's
suggesting that Annalise knows about Christoph or Wes's mother's death.
All right, and that was a reveal to everyone watching up to that point.
Yes,
that had not been revealed yet.
Okay. Yes, and the woman who was with her, who we've seen earlier on, Eve, who is Annalise's also a mistress. They used to date back in the day, and we were like, oh, Eve was there too? Why was she there? So yeah, it was like a surprise that they both were knowledgeable of Wes's mom's death.
Yeah. Okay, now I need some backstory on Asher, because I'm not the biggest fan of this dude.
Okay.
Prior to this episode, was he fairly neutral? Did we think he was a good guy, or had there been illusions, or is he more a villain role?
So he's more of a good guy. He's just a really privileged, very wealthy white guy who, he's learned a lot in the first two seasons up until that episode, but still is learning a lot. Still hasn't been through anything like the other students, especially because they killed Annalise's husband, and Asher wasn't a part of that in season one. So Asher
Right.
is a good guy, but there are things that I could see why. Like I could see why you're saying that, because he's incredibly privileged and wealthy, and like a lot of wealthy people, just blind to a lot of things.
But he also backs over and presumably murders Emily.
Emily Sinclair,
Did I
yeah.
get that right?
Yes.
Yes. And seemed, I mean, maybe he's in shock, but seemed remorseless and is totally okay with things being fudged to be able to get away with it. I don't know. It screamed privilege, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like
That's a good observation.
I don't see many redeeming qualities for our friend Asher.
Okay. That's a great observation.
That's just me. I feel very strongly against Asher. Apparently, I didn't think it was that big a
ready.
deal, but I am like,
you feel some
I have,
type of way.
I have issues. Okay.
That's okay. That's all right. They're valid.
Thank you. Hey, thanks, man. Thank you. Let's see. So this. Okay. So what's happening? Okay. So whose mansion is that? Is that not Catherine's?
Catherine and her brother Caleb. This is the Hapstall mansion where also their parents lived until they came up missing, which has been the premise of this whole season, is trying to find out or trying to prove Caleb and Catherine innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Because their foster parents were killed.
So, okay, so there's a lot of moments that happen within this house as the episode plays out, but I won't necessarily go in chronological order as they happened. But the first one that's coming to mind is when Annalise has the gun and she just needs someone to shoot her because in her mind this needs to happen in order for the fabricated story that she's come up with to be more believable.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And person after person after person turns her down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you recall who these players were and the significance of any of them kind of denying what she's asking for in this moment?
Oh, I know all of these players.
Okay, all right. So let's hear your breakdown of that moment with some more extended backstory.
So first of all, that was another great observation on your end. Annalise was absolutely trying to make a bigger mess out of this fabricated story. That way it's harder for people to figure out what the hell happened at this mansion, right? So in this moment, she's like, look, I need somebody to shoot me because otherwise none of this shit is going to be believable. And she's panicking and she's freaking out and she's usually in control. Annalise is always in control, but this time she lost that shit. And she's like, look, one of y'all got to shoot me. All of her students hate her. They hate her, but you can tell they also want to be her. I mean, it's not that you can tell, like they've said, especially Michaela, that she wants to be Annalise because she's so badass, but they also fucking hate her. So Annalise figures it's going to be easy to get one of them to shoot me. They all hate my guts. But none of them, as you can see, were up for it. So she was like kind of saying things to them to piss them off and, Connor and...
Okay, so is it Rebecca that she says is actually been dead? What's that about?
So Rebecca and Wes were fucking. Rebecca is this crazy girl who was in season 1 who was causing all this trouble for them, Annalise and her crew, because they were trying to cover up Sam's death, Annalise's husband's death, and Rebecca found out about it and she threatened to like take the whole ship under. And so Bonnie, who I love, she is ride or die. She's a gangster. She was tired of Rebecca's ass and was like, look, if I don't kill this bitch, she gonna go to the cops and tell them everything. So Bonnie low-key killed Rebecca. They had Rebecca in the basement tied up because they didn't want her running her mouth. And Bonnie snuck down there and took her ass out, killed her ass, said, bitch, I'm tired of you. And so Annalise found out.
Annalise wasn't She was being honest in that moment.
She was being honest, but she was hiding that information from Wes because she was lying to Wes, saying that she doesn't know where Rebecca is.
Right.
And then she said, we have eyes on Rebecca. So this whole time, Wes is thinking that his ex-girlfriend is alive. And Annalise comes clean and like, look, Rebecca's dead. And that was enough to piss Wes the fuck off. I don't know if I answered all of your question.
Yes. That is interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now there was also the, I don't know, the model-ish looking guy with the 9 o'clock shadow, 12 o'clock shadow.
Black guy?
Whatever that is. Brown guy?
What, just like, give me some context.
He's the guy who was the first one to say, I'm not moving the body. I'm not going to help with the body. And then he was on the curb toward the end of that whole scene.
Like freaked out?
Yeah.
With the beard,
yeah.
dark hair?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Connor. Connor's a white boy. That's why I was thrown off.
I'm probably talking about Connor.
Okay. Gay guy, right?
Okay, well, yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's
so
Connor.
why was he so apprehensive against Annalise? Sorry to be so long-winded about that. Yeah, so he seemed to have a disdain for Annalise, even though you said they all hate her, but his was a little more prominently on display. So what is exactly their
Well,
beef?
that's kind of Connor's character. Connor he's a hard head. And he also feels like he wasn't the one who killed Annalise's husband, Sam, even though they all were a part of it. He feels like he was like forced into it, and he doesn't feel like he was a part of it, but he definitely hates Annalise. Like he admires her, but he also just hates her. So that's probably why he was like, look, I'm done with this shit. Let's wrap this shit up. If we go to jail, we go to jail.
Yeah, there was the brunette woman that's part of the team, and I guess when it was her turn to
Laurel.
Yeah, either when it was her turn to like take the gun, or just at some point she's like, let's just go to jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
we deserve
We
jail.
deserve it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's an interesting kind of moment of I don't know, reevaluating what their reality is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
because I feel like as a watcher, you're like wanting them to get away with it.
Of course.
And then here's
yeah.
this character kind of saying like, opposite what the audience is rooting for. This character is like, no, not that at all. We deserve what we have coming to us. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Emily really dead?
Emily is as dead as it comes, as dead as it gets.
Okay. All right. Now, okay, so does Annalise end up being justified in setting up Catherine?
Does she justify?
Like, is she able to clear her name, so to speak? Or
By framing
does
Catherine?
she, like, fuck Catherine's life? Yeah.
Yeah, she is able to cover her and everyone else's ass by framing Catherine.
Man, yeah, that's a lot of moving parts. That's a lot
It
of
was a
moving
lot
parts.
going on. Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I guess I didn't expect the whodunit piece to be as prevalent. So it kind of reminded me of like a Knives Out vibe, and that was pretty cool. And then I love that you picked an episode where Viola has like 3 or 4 just epic kind of moments on screen.
I live for her.
Okay, hold on. Question as it comes to me. So the scene with the gun and she's asking everyone to shoot her, the woman who stands in front of her to kind of take the bullet, or at least tell the person not to shoot.
Black woman,
Is
Michaela.
there a greater significance? Yes, and that was
Michaela.
So is there a greater significance to Michaela stepping in front of her and acting as her shield, as far as any part of the story that's happened before this episode?
Well, a lot could argue it's because a lot could argue that it was just another black woman protecting a black woman, but ultimately I think Michaela just didn't want this mess to become even bigger than what it was. Like of course she didn't want Annalise to die, but also she didn't give a shit about Annalise. I feel like it was more about her, because Michaela is very selfish. A lot of that was about her and just not wanting this to go any further, because as you can see, there were just bodies everywhere. There was just so much already going on.
So I feel like How to Get Away with Murder just has like a higher body count than, let's say, I don't know, a traditional drama or comedy, right?
Oh, for sure.
Same with Sopranos. And let me ask you this. Well, I'll just ask it anyway. It seems like it might be a different answer because the show itself is predicated on them being lawyers and knowing the law and how to kind of bend it to their will, this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But Sopranos, let's say they have a similar body count. A critique that people will have about The Sopranos is that there's instances where these guys do awful things in public, and there's never ever any legal ramification. No one ever hears a gunshot. No one ever is able to get a license plate. Not to say that they can do these things with impunity, but I'm saying for the most part throughout the series, you kind of accept that there's just certain things. Someone was murdered in a parking lot and the cops never found out. Are there moments like that where bodies drop in How to Get Away with Murder, and you're like, do they follow the rules of reality in that they would likely have been caught, or do they kind of, for the drama, get away with it here and there?
There are a lot of deaths that take place, or a lot of murders that take place that, they do get away with it, and it's not found out, or sometimes people come up missing and we don't even know what happened to them.
So within the story of the show, this character's gone missing and there's no really further resolution to what happened to them.
Yeah, there's
cool.
There's no answer. There's no, there are hints, but then there are hints that are like kind of taking you in a different direction. And it's like, well, what happened to that person? Yeah.
That's cool. I dig that.
Yeah.
All right. So the shows in themselves obviously are different in one's cable, one's network, a litany of other differences. But what are some of the similarities as far as aspects that you liked of The Sopranos that are things that you look at in other TV shows? Getting away with murder.
Well, the reason I love How to Get Away with Murder is because it's a thriller. It's because you never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to die. And I definitely get that from The Sopranos. I enjoy a thriller mixed in with some comedy. And I kind of love just like people coming up dead in shows and just like not, expecting it, like Ralph. And I don't know. I really enjoy it. It's just unpredictable.
It is unpredictable. I would say that's a really neat similarity in that, there's not a character on The Sopranos that is quote unquote safe. Like everyone is as vulnerable. Anyone can get taken out.
Exactly.
And we've talked about this about shows that we've seen fairly recently, who we feel like shy away from making those kind of bold choices, but these two shows, at least, that's a really cool thing. I guess that takes like a confident and bold writing team, to be able to do that to like a beloved character, right?
Yeah. It happens a lot more in How to Get Away with Murder as the season progresses.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Me too. And I love watching. I love seeing the similarities. I mean, the shows are so different, but like we were both. So these are both shows that we respectively, truly, admire and love and are great fans of and have admiration for. And so giving it to, even as close as Kevin and I are, giving it to the other as like, well, let me know what you think. There was we were both protective of the things that we really like. Mm-hmm. But I'm really glad that we both came away with some, I don't know, there were some profound aspects to both.
Yeah.
And I feel like we both caught things, like you caught things in The Sopranos and myself and How to Get Away with Murder that the other hadn't necessarily thought of before. So that was really cool. Seeing this episode, we've both seen countless times from like a brand new perspective.
It's fun to get a new perspective.
Yeah, I think the more we can do that with TV shows and music, and maybe the people in our day-to-day lives, right?
Exactly.
So we can work in like real life.
Yeah, imagine that.
That'd be nice. Well, thank you so much to anyone who's still listening.
Yes.
Here on Vibable. Please, if you have a moment, take a second, check us out on Instagram, check us out on the
and TikTok. YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, Jinx, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. And we will catch you back here next time. This has been Vibable. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts.